Hey guys, so you remember how I wrote that book in 2020? I wrote an entire novel in an entire month, and then I didn't edit it or publish it or do anything about it at all. Oops, that's a problem. So I am doing a live audio editing. I was doing a scavenger hunt of this, but I feel sort of so bad that like I just dropped it. I'm like, just gonna get on here, do some and hit it. So I'm gonna be doing an audiobook version. It's me being like, "Oh, wow, that's bad." So I'll change and go back and forth. So hang out, watch me edit, help me edit. I'll be doing a live virtual speaking about it thing. So here you go. I'm just gonna dive right in. Chapter 3. See if I remember what the story is about. Oh my goodness. Astoria knocked on a wooden plank door. There was some shuffling inside. Then a powerful looking person opened the door. Their powdered matte complexion contrasted gloriously with their flowery, expansive afro hair. Anya wore bangles and long, wavy, layered clothing, their warm disposition radiated, making me feel at home, and their color palette naturally complemented their dark skin tones. Greetings, Anya exclaimed. How can I help you today, Astoria? And who is this with you? Who is this? Who is this with you? It isn't me who needs help. It's you. We've brought you an apprentice and a new neighbor, they said, gesturing at me. Meet Swee. Hello, I said, a little breathless from their extraordinary appearance. Is this where all the pretty people move to that don't fit perfectly into society's mold? Everyone I'd met this far was beyond beautiful, both skin deep and deeper. Oh, fantastic, they said, bending slightly and enveloping me in a warm, relaxing hug. Come on in. I've just put a large pot of tea on. I thought there might be visitors this morning. When I have a feeling, it is usually right. I sensed that about Anya, that they might be magically in tune with the natural elemental vibe. We walked into their space. It was more cluttered than Astoria's home, but what filled it But what it was filled with were plants, alive, dead, in jars, tied to the ceiling, drying. Excuse me. Excuse me. Drying, sprawling on every surface in some state. There was an entire wall devoted to dead, dry plants in jars. On another, there was a cabinet with dark blue bottles. Besides the chaos on the perimeter and ceiling, the center of the room was cleared, comma, except for a large table with several chairs. We all sat at the table while Anya finished their tea preparations. When they returned with the kettle, they explained the many jars on the table in front of them. These are some of my favorite herbal blends. Add a scoop of one to a tea ball when you've decided which you'd like to experience today. This is pure peppermint. It can help with digestion, unstuff a stuffy nose, elevate your body's natural energy, and, of course, give you nice, fresh breath. This is one of my go tos for digestion and enjoyment. Same. A sprinkle of cinnamon goes nicely if you'd like a little added warmth. Cinnamon is another helper in digestion. It's anti-inflammatory and helps with your immune system. You have all that, Swee? They looked over at me. I opened my backpack and started looking for a notebook. She laughed. Today is a free day, but I will expect you to be able to recite at least one thing you've learned today, this evening. Learn today, later this evening. We will start work in earnest tomorrow. No need to write it all down. It will come to you once you begin working with the herbs regularly. We have a cinnamon tree in our greenhouse, along with quite a few other things. I gestured at the next pot. Speaking of greenhouses, we have an underground one where we grow a variety of medicinal mushrooms. I love showing off our plants. This tea is a blend of reishi and lion's mane mushrooms in a lemongrass and ginger base. Each of these four has antimicrobial properties, along with many other health benefits we will explore later. So, if you feel like you are coming down sick, this comma this combination, along with my next one, are my go-tos. We just said that. Are your friends? Welcome to the powerhouse flower. That is echinacea, also referred to as coneflower, a favorite of the goldfinches. You should see the patches in the summer as they flit about. This is one of my favorites for helping to fight infections, along with the revered elderberry. Although, when preparing elderberry, we do need to be diligent in preparations, so we won't start you with processing it. But I digress. There is much to teach you. Do you have any experience with plants? Rose hips finish off this blend. There's one more of my favorites I'll share with you. Then you can choose one and steep. Hello. I also just popped over to my live stream that is happening now, and there's two people in the chat. And hello. I know Don Necessary is a patron, so I really appreciate you being on there for the sport. People like patrons that help me write novels. And they're like, come on, you can do it. And I know on one of my Patreon pages, I had all my, what is it? I was posting all my YouTube live streams there as I was going about them, but this one's public. So hi everyone in the world that's watching me awkwardly edit my novel. I know. Yee! Okay. They paused so I could respond to their question. Obviously they paused. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with plants. I'm looking forward to learning though. An eager spirit and an earnest mind, the perfect combination for a new student. I'm looking forward to teaching you. Here's the final blend. It is for digestion: slippery elm bark, marshmallow, fennel, licorice, and anise. Oh, I love all the herbs and their properties. I'm excited to have someone to share my gathered knowledge with. I was a bit overwhelmed with all my new knowledge. Oh, I've started reading in my mind. Sorry. Oops. That just happens. My bad. Now I'm going to silently add it to myself. Actually, I also just remembered there's one thing in here I wanted to fix on my other book. I want that to be a capital B, and then I think there was an extra blank page. No, maybe not. Okay. I hoped it would sustain longer than drinking a steaming glass of tea. That doesn't make sense. I was a bit overwhelmed with all the new plant names and properties to learn. I hoped I would sustain longer than drinking a steaming glass of tea. I'd struggled with being sick a lot through school, and my belly was always a mess. Digestion blend it is, I guessed. I reached for the concoction of herbs, watching the ritual as the others prepared their tea. I worked the spoon claw to scoop a bit of tea into it and poured it into my glass. We each passed the kettle around and poured the hot water over the herbs. Now we wait while it cools some. Near boiling is good for extracting herbal compounds, but not so much for our lips and mouth, Anya said. After we enjoy our tea, the day will be yours to settle in. Tomorrow morning, we will take a tour of the greenhouses and underground systems. I'm thankful you are here, Swee. There is much to do and keep up with. It will be great to have your help. As part of our job, we also work with the growing of the plants we use here. Let's meet here tomorrow morning at 7. 7? I thought to myself, yikes. That's when I used to be getting some of the best sleep before waking up around 11. I guess this place is full of changes for me. The five of us talked as our tea cooled, then sipped and enjoyed the company. I was warming to the cluttered feeling of my environment. It felt homier now as I understood why the plants were where they were. Were where they were. Wow, that is wordy. Understood why the plants were where they were. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Like, they were where they were. Why they were where they were. As we finished our cups, Anya stood up and announced, "Let's go see your new house." We filed back onto the street and walked a few paces to my new door. Go ahead, open it, Finley encouraged me. I am editing grammar and rewriting. If there's anything weird that happens, that's what I'm looking for, Don. Although Donald is your username on here. Sorry if that's what your preferred name is. I am mostly doing a lot of commas. I've learned a lot about commas in the past couple of years, so comma editing. Comma and comma and edit. Man, this is exhausting. How many pages have I done? 20 out of 155? Are there seriously 155 pages? Sorry. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, there's 5 more pages. It's not terrible. We can go to chapter 4. We got this. Give me a thumbs up, everybody. Woohoo! Raise the roof. I opened the door and walked through. The amount of open space was vast. I felt like running in circles and doing cartwheels. Dancing through the grand room, I was thrilled. I knew people were a bit more eccentric and accepting here. But I decided to reserve that activity for when I was in private. This room, oh. But I decided to reserve that activity for when I was in private. This room was mostly white with abundant natural light and blonde wood accent beams. There was a kitchen near to this room that was separated only by a counter. We spread out and explored the new space. As I walked deeper into the home, I found a room covered in pages, book pages, handwritten pages, typed pages, printed pages, and Bible pages. I crossed the room and examined a handwritten page. I spied the sun setting and ran to it. On my way back home, I spotted my light they'd turned on from in the bedroom. Golden green, beautiful yellow light illuminating in the darkness. I spent sunset with the trains, rumbling through this old city from a new vantage point. I spied and spent my time planning and playing through the future, what I've wished for to be them cliche, love, family, health, safety, sanctuary, to enjoy viewing beauty as I saw through the sunset's sculpted clouds. My father says sunsets are God's creations, nightly and in the morning, his most beautiful paintings. Watching the light from outside, lamps for trees, and sentimental feelings. I looked up to see Astoria had found me. Wow, they said, you've got a lot of reading to do. I laughed. I'm not sure I could make it through. There are a plethora of pages. Not really, they responded. If you think about it, there are probably 1 to 2 books worth of pages in here. All the words are visible at the same time, instead of how we are used to seeing them, all bound and hidden behind covers. I wonder if books didn't have covers or bindings, if people would feel as overwhelmed about reading them as you feel right now. They were right. There were maybe 200 pages in here. I'd read more than that when I was in school for assignments. I hadn't read as much since graduating, but I could pick up a good book. That was this room. Okay, yeah, that does make sense. Perhaps I could organize and condense them into boxes. I responded after my thoughts quieted a bit. This does seem to be a good project to read into. I do know someone who loves books. I looked at them and smiled. Ah, are you trying to pawn your workload off on me? The elders didn't say it, but I'm sure they'd love it if you did something with these. Pete loved writing. They were a bit of a hermit because of it. But they still worked on the farming side when they weren't here writing or using their typewriter. Excuse me. Astoria commented. I'm already thinking about it. Let's check out the rest of the house, I said. And we moved on to the next part. The other rooms had been cleared of any lingering pages. A bedroom with a king-size bed, a washroom with a clawfoot tub, and an office with a desk greeted us as we finished our initial tour. We all met back in the entry room, and Anya spoke. With any luck, within a year, so many more commas. We will have merged this room with the herbery and be able to use the kitchen as a cooking space to expand upon some of the offerings. The light in here is excellent for growing some fresh countertop herbs. I'm adding that word. Because it's my book and I'm going to read add words. You'll still be able to live here if you wish. Or if living right off the herbery doesn't suit you, we can find you another place. I'm looking forward to training you. I'll see you at my table tomorrow at 7 for a cup of tea before we head out. We should be going as well, Juilliard said. The day awaits us, and there are creations to make. Take some time, acclimate, wander the town, meet a few people, take a bath, and enjoy your day. I'm sure we will find reasons to see each other again soon. Finley and Astoria both said their goodbyes as well, and I was left alone in my house. My house. Never before had I had my own house. Well, this sounded more like it was on loan to me until it could be turned into an herbery, but still a place of my own, not crowded with people like it was in one of my previous apartments or someone else's place where I lived, but my own home. I walked back into the book-papered room. I was drawn there. I wondered what I would make of this space once the pages were down. An entire house with an empty room waiting for a purpose. I couldn't think of any other functional needs. It would be a room for me. I felt so many interests being piqued as I looked around. My creative interest had been piqued. Been stirred in the room at Astoria's house. I was thrilled to be learning about herbs, but a little scared since my knowledge base was slim. The building project and work the elders had mentioned. I suppose if I didn't like living in an herbery, what on earth? This Oh, okay. So responding to Roblox over on YouTube. Yes, I am reading from a book I have written, and I'm currently editing it. It will eventually be available for sale, but not yet because it's not edited. And if there's enough interest, I can make an audiobook, but it's a ton of work. Making audiobooks it's not fun. I enjoy having them as finished products. I think it's really cool and rewarding, but the amount of effort it takes to make an audiobook, in my opinion, is absolutely exhausting. And I want to say not worth it, although I'm super, super excited about this guy. I mean, this is a pretty cool audiobook, and I'm really enjoying listening to it, so maybe it is worth it. Who knows? Oh, everyone left. Okay, diving back in. This part is very confusing. Possibilities swirled in my head. I'd loved them all. Everything felt like it was finally falling into place. Everything felt right. All through all through college, I thought if I just happened upon that one thing that would make me tick, that one passion, I'd know it and be able to follow through with it as a career. But it never happened for me. Now, with my fingers starting to be entangled in a few fronts of work, I felt full of life and happiness. I couldn't wait for tomorrow. But for now, I wanted more page off the wall. My room smells of your scent. I wait for your return. Hours and hours after your nightly departure, I take you for granted. But when you sleep and wake to me, the love you show me reminds me nothing is for granted, and you, my love, are merely sleeping. It appeared to me that we had a poem from earlier and now a book excerpt. I started piles for them on the floor. Other pages seemed to be from books by authors other than Pete. I'd have to ask Astoria if they knew any of them, and I recognized pages from the Bible from when my mom had made me go through confirmation. I plucked the Bible pages into a pile and what I thought were book pages into another. Now, what remained seemed to be Pete's writing. I could go through them one page at a time. Later on, the room was beginning to look like a tree, midway through autumn, losing its leaves, and beginning to reveal the multiple colors that had been hidden underneath. That's such a pretty line. I'm going to highlight some of these. Also going to add that one other line up here. I left and entered the washroom. It had been a while since I'd had a bath, and this looked like the perfect place. Brilliant afternoon sunlight streamed in the window. A skylight above the tub looked up to a tree reaching over, and an immaculate tub. I removed my soiled clothes and turned the faucet. Excuse me. Pardon me. A relaxing scent filled the room. Orange with a hint of lavender. Ooh, I could get used to this. I started opening cabinets as the tub filled. I found towels, washcloths, one bottle that seemed to be soap, and clothes. The clothes looked a little like Astoria's, seeming to be made from natural materials. I held an outfit up, a one piece tunic that appeared to have butterfly wings or something similar embedded in it. They caught the sunlight and glistened as I turned the garment. I laid the piece of beautiful clothing down and slid into the bath. The aromatic essence engulfed my senses, and all of my tensions from before Willow Nova seemed far away. What cheating lovers! What scrambling to pay bills! They melted as I sank into the warm water and relaxed. Hmm. I think I fell asleep, or at least experienced a different state of consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I saw my body in a different way than I had before. I frequently experienced gender dysmorphia and usually wanted to cut my breasts off. It had been this way since fourth grade, when I went through watching a video the educators thought would teach us about growing up. They separated the boys and girls, and I started to understand the changes that would be coming. I went home to my treehouse that afternoon, climbed up, and cried my eyes out. I didn't want to grow up. I didn't want those dreadful things to happen to my body. But they did, unfortunately, much sooner than I'd thought. Not too long after that difficult day, I started to get hard lumps under my previously flat nipples. I hadn't considered self mutilation or learning about, or I hadn't considered self mutilation, and I hadn't yet learned about cutting at this point in my life. But I had a pocket knife and desperately wanted to cut the breast tissue from my developing chest. I'd frequently thought back to that moment and wished I had. But at this time, but now my breasts didn't feel as foreign as I usually treated them. They felt like they were a part of me that I was okay with now. I didn't love them, but I didn't I didn't feel my typical deep desire to rid my body of them. Maybe it was the light, the scented water, meeting Astoria, and seeing how proud and confident they were living their life. Or even the ultra relaxing state I was in now. Excuse me. But I felt much better about my body. I reached for the bottle of soap and poured it onto my cloth. Mint, sensational. I washed my body with a new reverence for it, accepting its shape and curves, being glad that I could embody both genders, and I was glad in my newfound love for myself. I rinsed, dried, and adorned the new tunic. It fit me perfectly, both in size and in gender neutrality. Feeling refreshed and enlivened, I left the house. I left my house. My house. I still wasn't used to that exciting fact. I explored the city a little bit. I walked around a few blocks and marveled at the many house shop combinations. There seemed to be a specialty place for everything. I walked and walked, trying to spiral around the blocks from my home and commit as much as possible to my memory. And that's the chapter. Woo! All right. Oh, hi, Larry. Uh, it's not officially an autobiography, but that excerpt that you probably just got into is very real from my life. It was very much my fourth grade self right there. That is definitely like verbatim what happened in my life. Like I got out of health class in fourth grade and went home to my treehouse and definitely had all those thoughts. It was very real. That was very autobiographical, but chapter 4 we will be doing another day. So thank you everyone for joining us here. Thanks for trying to help hold me accountable for getting some writing done. Thanks for watching. Much obliged. And until another time, talk to you soon. Have fun. Bye-bye.